What is going on YouTube? My name is BluePaw. Welcome back to Pokemon Showdown, our third and final battle with the UU team. And before we get into the battle, if you can, please leave a like down below. I really appreciate your support. Also, be sure to subscribe down below for daily Pokemon videos coming your way. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any team suggestions you'd like to see me use in future videos. Other than that, let's get into the battle. So at first glance at my opponent's team, I can see he has a Heliolisk, which terrifies me because I have 3 electric weaknesses on my team, which is great, and I have no checks either. So I have to use Roserade as a check to Heliolisk, which isn't the best thing because they can carry Hyper Voice hurts a lot, and they can carry Hidden Power Ice and several other scary things. As well as that, he's got a Gardevoir, which could have Trace, Choice Scarf, Scary, and of course the Entei is always Power. Besides that, I think we've got a decent chance against his team. Because my opponent has no ground type, I decided to lead with Heliolisk, so I can get a Volt Switch off on whatever he sends in. As my Heliolisk is Choice Scarfed, he sends out his Mienshao and takes a butt ton of damage from that Volt Switch, and I switch into Lucy expecting a fighting type move on my normal type Heliolisk, and predict that pretty well. He switches into my Milotic, probably his physical wall, so I smack it with a U-turn and get out back into Matt, because I see how threatening this thing is to my opponent's team. I predict a switch and go for a Hyper Voice, bad play on my part as I'm Choice Scarfed, and I'm forced to just click Hyper Voice again, hoping that maybe he'll switch out or doesn't go for Recover like he does there. So I'm pretty much screwed with this Heliolisk and have to switch out. I decide Elvis is a pretty good check nonetheless, as he makes a double switch into Mienshao and then hits me with a U-turn as I smack this Milotic with spikes, getting those hazards set up all over my opponent's team. And then can smack it with the super effective Giga Drain, doing a lot more damage than that Hyper Voice, as he hits me with a super effective Ice Beam. But Elvis is my special wall, so I would rather this thing taking special attacks than my Heliolisk or my Crobat or anything really. Unfortunately, we get into a bit of a recover stall with this Milotic, but I'm getting all my health back and I can just set up spikes freely, which I proceed to do now as he switches in his Gardevoir. This thing could be really scary. I didn't see a Trace go off, and I switch into my Milotic. Just because I knew a Psychic wouldn't be very nice on my Roserade, and despite my being my physical wall, it's probably going to take it better than Roserade. I go for a Toxic and see this thing is synchronized, which means that my Milotic now has Marvel Scout activated, but also it means that a Psychic is more likely to take me out. Luckily, Gardevoir gets a low roll and I can get a Recover off, kind of as a last ditch effort. Honestly, I thought Grace was going down. You MVP, Grace, nice one. But he does get a special defense drop, so I'm not getting any more low rolls. This Gardevoir is eventually going to take me out. I decide nothing else really wants to take a Psychic from this Gardevoir, which is a powerhouse, and decide to let Grace go down to a 4th Psychic, I think that was. I switch in Matt, going for more Volt Switch initiative, and he brings in his Entei, possibly to scare me out with a Sacred Fire or an Extreme Speed. I go into Rain Man, obviously threatening this thing out. He predicts a Water type move very nicely, but I saw that coming and went for a Dark Pulse. So no Dry Skin for you, Heliolisk. I then switch to Elvis, my only check to this electric type, and take the Thunderbolt somewhat nicely. I decide this Heliolisk needs to die, but I think he sacks off his Entei here as I just hit Sludge Bomb, taking this Entei out, so that's good. One threat out of the way. These spikes coming in work. He switches in Gardevoir again, which is annoying for me because he does outspeed and I have to take a Psychic with Elvis. Luckily I have special defense investment. I don't know how I lived that, but well done Elvis. And I can take it out with the Sludge Bomb. He then switches in Mienshao, which is terrifying for me because this thing is getting on outspeed. I go back into Lucy, and he predicts a switch and goes for a knockoff. Nice play on his part. However, he decides to sack off his Heliolisk here, so I decide to Roost up. But that's still bad for me because Heliolisk could outspeed, it could be Choice Scarfed, and I have to sack off my Elvis at this point, as he goes for a T-Bolt. However, I can bring in Sacred, my Entei, and hit with Extreme Speed, taking the second major threat out on my opponent's team. Which is great for me because the weakness is pretty much covered now. I decide to go into Matt in case he goes for a Water type move. C very smartly goes for a Recover. However, my Thunderbolt does have a 0.5%, so it's all good for me. I can just smack that button away, and anything he brings in will not take this nicely. No ground types, no resistances. It's all good in the hood. He brings in Mienshao, but I say nope. This is going to take you out. I'm Choice Scarfed, and then he brings in the unexpected Sceptile. I underestimate this thing so badly. Did not remember about Lightning Rod, and +1 Giga Drain is going to take my Heliolisk out. Now this is the bit I was worried because the Dragon Pulse completely destroys my Crobat, which I was not expecting. I completely underestimated this. Luckily Sacred can come in and finish this thing off with a Sacred Fire, so it's all good. Very narrowly won that battle. I got terrified towards the end when the Sceptile activated Lightning Rod, but we won nonetheless. We got through it. So that wraps up the video there. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. I really appreciate your support. Also, subscribe below for daily Pokemon videos coming your way. Have a nice day. Peace.